established a quorum with a roll call, and also check your audio. Mr. Cleophas Rucker, are you present?
Yes, present.
Richard Chapman.
Present.
Nick Brassel.
Present.
Kim Stagg.
Present.
Thank you. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the governor issued Executive Order Number 16, extended by Executive Order Number 71, authorizing committees to meet and conduct their essential business by electronic means if the committee determines that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. If you agree, please respond yes. Mr. Cleophas Rucker?
Yes.
Richard Chapman?
Agreed.
Nick Brassel?
Yes.
And Kim Stagg?
I agree.
Thank you. Again, if anyone is participating with audio only, please state your name before speaking. We will move into our approval of the minutes of January 7th and January 22nd. If there are no corrections, we will take a motion to approve these together. Do I have a motion?
This is Richard. I move to approve both sets of minutes.
Second?
This is Kim Stagg. I second.
All right, let's take a vote. Cleophas Rucker?
Approve.
Richard Chapman?
Aye.
Nick Brassel?
Approve.
And Kim Stagg?
Approve.
All right, it's unanimous. Let's move on to our first item, which is should be shown on your screen. I hope everyone can see it. I am presenting it from my screen, so I have a little bit more difficulty seeing the hands raised when the presenter roll. So if you do have a question and I don't get to you, please feel free to respectfully interject. The first item is the overview of the items presented at the study and formulating. I will turn this over to Chair Rucker to see if there are any questions or comments about this. It has been updated since the previous study and formulating committee meeting. And everyone should have received this prior to this meeting, as well as the information that Mr. Chapman had put together for us for item number 2. So Mr. Rucker, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Hickey, and thank you for providing the documentation and the information you've provided for today's session. I want to open the floor up to the committee members. I hope you've had an opportunity to look at the information and to review, but I want to see right now if there are any questions at this time of any of the information in the document that is dated February 1st of 2021, the study and formulation recap document. Any questions from you, Mr. Chapman?
No, sir.
Mr. Brazo?
No, sir.
Ms. Staggs?
No, sir.
Are there any questions from any other participants in this committee meeting? Oh.
This is Dick Chapman. I just want to ask one question. Are we going to go through the individual items, or are you talking about all of this in general?
When I look at the documents, I was talking and really referring to this document. I know that we have one item that still is open. Do you feel, or
I have, the only thing is, I have one question. Do we want to get in a position to endorse the proposal by the Human Resource Office to establish a central safety office? I know I asked Steve Kane to give us an update on that as it relates to being, for example, a budget item, and I believe that that's under active discussion as Metro's formulating a budget. but I was wondering whether or not we want to endorse that idea as part of the IOD program.
As we have the IOD program, and looking at the document, the IOD program is the only item that continues to be open for us to discuss. So if now is an appropriate time for us to have to jump into it, I think I am open to for us to start that conversation. I know we were provided documents that including Mr. Kane's letter. But I think it's, if we are looking at the recommendation and what those next steps may be, I think it is appropriate for us to look at that. I would be open to, and, I think it makes sense to hear what the other committee members think about that as well.
Right.
Ms. Stagg? Any thoughts on whether we can could look at the Mr. Kane's communication as we look at the IOD program as a whole? Your thoughts on that, and Mr. Brazel, yours too?
No, Mr. Rucker, I think it's appropriate to do that.
It's appropriate too.
Okay. So having reviewed and the question that I think I have for you, Ms. Hickey, is has everyone, I know the committee members have received the communications, but I know we often have questions about the other individuals who join our calls. And I wanted to, recognizing that we're likely to one way or the other come away with a recommendation today on this. Has everyone had an opportunity to review and receive that letter?
The information was provided to the committee. It was not provided to union representatives. It would be available on our website, though, with all the other documents. So would you like me to share the screen with the letter from Mr. Kane? Would that be helpful?
I think it would be. I think it would give everyone an opportunity to see it now as we're discussing it. And any questions or concerns they may have, they can bring forward as well.
Can you all see this?
Christina, I'm sorry, Mark Young. Real quick, are these documents available on the website right now?
Let me ask Robbie. Robbie, have you put these on the website as of current?
No, ma'am, I have not put them out there yet. I don't usually put the documents out there until after the meeting.
Okay, they will be shortly available though, Mark, on the Study and Formulating Committee website page. Can you see this?
Might I suggest then our discussion be simply preliminary and we have one more meeting? I just think we need to give labor some time to look at this if this is their first opportunity.
And I would agree with that recommendation. I believe if we're going to walk away and put a recommendation out there as a committee, it just, giving labor the opportunity to, review what was recommended as well as to come away with questions and concerns that they may have, and then being able to share those. I think it's going to be really important for us to make a decision on this. So I agree with Ms. Stagg. So considering this, I guess I think my question, that brings us to a bigger question. And yes, I don't want to leave the IOD just kind of issue just hanging there. But Ms. Hickey, is it possible that do we still have, and I know we have our last meeting scheduled on the 10th, would we still have an opportunity to discuss this issue as well as to, create a recommendation and to move forward at that time? Or because I know there's some work that has to be done behind the scenes as it relates to recommendations?
I will defer this question to our legal counsel, Nikki Ecke. Nikki?
Thank you. This is Nikki Ecke. I just wanted to indicate that the actual report that this committee provides has to be a report that's approved in a public meeting. So, so just bear that in mind, that changes, etc., that are made have to be approved by the whole committee in a public meeting, such that the report represents action taken by the committee. The content of the report represents the actual report that the committee approved in a public meeting.
This is Dick Chapman. Just so we're clear, I don't want to hold up anything, and yet I understand we want to give everybody an opportunity to comment. Yeah. And we would obviously want to see those comments before the next meeting so that we can consider what to do at that particular time, because it would be my intention, if the group generally agrees, to submit a motion to endorse the idea of establishing a safety office. And I don't mind saying that now to give the labor representatives an opportunity to understand where we might be headed so that they can make comments about that. This doesn't have the same importance as for example, or it may have lots of importance, but it doesn't have the same impact on the members from labor as making an adjustment to the medical plan or recommending, any of those other kind of things. This is more a help rather than a change. And it would be from my intention to basically endorse the proposal of establishing a central safety office and starting that with at least one staff member. I mean, and that's as far as I would want to go. So I don't want to, basically make this job more difficult by endorsing that, because the truth of the matter is it may have something that has its own legs on it already.
Chair Becker, I do see that Director Shannon Hall has her hand raised. Director Hall, you are recognized.
Thank you, Christina. This is Shannon Hall. Just for everybody's common understanding, including our union members here, Mr. Chapman's comments are correct. We don't need an affirmative recommendation from this committee to have a centralized safety division. That's an administrative funding component that will be determined by the administration. Internal audit, which is the internal audit feature of the Metropolitan government, has already done an extensive audit and recommended that a central safety office exist at Metro and that it be placed by HR. And as a result of that, we have offered that as part of our budget increase submission last year, and we plan to do it again this year. So this certainly, the idea of creating a central safety office is not something by which we need the committee's recommendations specifically. I would think that everybody would want a strong centralized safety office. Again, I don't know that it has to be a very robust division, but those members that can help support our department safety coordinators to prevent IOD injuries from the onset. Because I think we all have a shared goal that the more employees we can protect from being injured from workplace injuries on the first place is the best place to be. So I would hate to have a robust discussion on this item, knowing that the recommendation is not necessarily, but helpful. And also to Mr. Young's point, because I want to make sure he's had a chance to see this information, the information I think Mr. Chapman has provided is quite consistent with the information that Steve Kane supplied months ago to this committee. So I don't know that we're plowing any new ground or offering any items that have not already been previously considered. So what I would hate to do is trigger that the commission has to find another meeting date between the 10th and the 17th if it's not necessary. If the committee felt as though they didn't want to make a recommendation on this item at the time because of the timing issue, that would still be okay from an HR perspective. And I certainly don't want to create concerns for our committee members or our union members.
If I might add, I as a committee member am prepared to vote to support item 4 as a recommendation coming out of this committee without this letter. What I have a concern about is this letter going into the record to support our recommendations before the labor groups have had an opportunity to look at it and make certain it's consistent with their thoughts and they don't have any objection or response to this. I think the presentation that we received in September and further discussions we've had about the IOD program have been sufficient to support a recommendation of item number 4. If labor is fine with this going into the record, they just simply need to say so.
Mr. Mark Young, you are recognized.
Thank you, Kim. Here's the issue. All right, we may have discussed this in September, and we may have heard from Steve Kane on this. But when new documents are presented at the current meeting that we have not had or have access to until after the meeting, there's where the problem lies. This document, the information in this document may be 100% of what we have already heard. I don't know that. I don't have it.
Christina, this is Shannon Hall. If I may, Mr. Young, I apologize. I agree that that's problematic if it's something that you would like to weigh in on and you don't have a copy of that. And that's certainly not our intention, is to make any union member or you feel excluded from part of having these documents when they're publicly available. So in the future, we are happy to provide any document that you want after we've supplied it to the committee or board or commission. Once it's publicly available, we're happy to give you a copy of anything you request. So please accept the apology.
That's the problem. That's the problem. It's publicly available after the meeting.
So what I'm saying to you is I am trying to give you our commitment, not just on this committee, but a board and commission that we also support permanently on a permanent basis. My commitment to you is as soon as those packets go out to committee members or commission members, if there's a copy of anything you want in advance of the meeting, I would be happy to give it to you.
Posted.
And then my subsequent apology on behalf of the staff.
Mr. Brad Rayson, you are recognized.
Brad Rayson, SEIU Local 205. I just wanted to second what Mark said. And I don't think it's a matter, I think Mark's point is we're being asked to have an opinion on something that we haven't had a chance to digest. And I guess the assumption is being made that this may be nothing new, but we don't know that for sure. So I agree with Mark that making documents available after we've been asked to have an opinion on them is not really the best way to go.
Mr. James Smallwood, you are recognized.
So I'll just echo the comments of my colleagues. This is something that we've not seen yet, and I commented on this at the last meeting that we're being asked to consume information on the spot and understand it, and asking for our comment is counterproductive if we've not seen information beforehand. So we just ask for time to consume and understand and be able to prepare comments that will be productive in the conversation rather than just trying to catch up to speed while we're having the conversation. So I'm sure this is just an oversight because this is something that's been moving very fast with a very compressed schedule. So I can appreciate the position everybody's in. And I sincerely appreciate the input from the committee, understanding that we haven't had the opportunity to read and offering us the time to do that before we make a comment on whether or not we support it. That's all I have.
Chair Rucker, might I make a recommendation for us to consider?
Yes, please.
My recommendation would be that in item number 4, we remove the reference to the, in the information presented, we remove the reference to the additional information presented on February 4th, and then we entertain a motion to approve the recommendation as it's shown for item 4 to have a central safety office within the HR department.
That's a good recommendation. Before we move forward with that recommendation, I want to get clarity from Ms. Hall, if I may. Ms. Hall, I want to make sure that I clearly understand. You know, I see that the recommendation was to establish this, basically this office within this central safety office within human resources. But if I'm understanding this correctly, you're saying that there was not really a need to come forward and bring the recommendation forward through the study and formulating committee because the office is and can be established by another mechanism that Metro has. Is that correct?
Yes. Chair Rucker, this is Shannon Hall. That is an accurate statement. I believe, though, that, you know, the IOD program, the IOD medical care program, which is under the purview of the benefit system and would be studied by this committee, would often contemplate a sister program that would help prevent those injuries from the get-go, right, which would be safety. Technically, since it's not necessarily under this purview, this is something administratively that has already been identified and recommended by another appropriate party and does not necessarily require a recommendation. However, if the committee wanted to offer one, it just strengthens the business case that 2 entities have reached the same conclusion. But that, just know, I don't want to put that pressure on you or any of the other committee members, whatever you feel most comfortable with on this particular item.
Sure. No, thank you. Thank you for that clarity there. One question I have for the committee members is, and I don't know if this is a process that is, and this is more of a general statement than a question here. And I don't know if I don't feel comfortable necessarily putting in basically administrative or putting in, suggestions and recommendations that the, administration and, management have the right to already do. I understand it may be a recommendation that, bolsters the, support of the issue, but I'm just concerned that down the line, what the perception could be on a recommendation of something that administratively the Metro has the authority to do. I don't necessarily see much value being added to an ongoing kind of discussion on this when we are kind of pressed for time like we are. But I would like the committee members to discuss that. get your thoughts on that.
Okay, this is Dick Chapman. I want to point out one thing. We've reviewed several iterations of this summary chart. I just happen to have one of them dated 2021, I'm sorry. And it has the same language in it in the same box. And I believe this one's been posted for the last committee meeting that we had after the committee meeting. And I agree generally with the idea that people need to see these things before the committee meets to be able to comment on it. Second thing is, I'm probably the source of this problem for asking for specific material from Steve Kane. And to solve this problem, and with full recognition that it's probably going to happen anyway, one way or the other, I would suggest we remove from the possible recommendations in item number 4, the language that's in there, and we leave the box blank. That resolves the issue with any concerns that the representatives of the firefighters, the police, and the SEIU members have. It lets the normal budget process take place. It lets the normal administrative processes take place. Since the union representatives know what the administration is at least considering, they can take steps to let the administration know that they either endorse or oppose a safety office. We've done our work by expressing ourselves, and the union members get an opportunity to express themselves in a forum that they would otherwise have anyway. So that's my recommendation for us. I would make that as a motion to simply remove that language, and it won't hurt one way or the other.
Mr. Chapman, is that a formal motion?
From me, yes.
Can you please restate which box? I can pull that document back up.
Okay. It's item number 4, in line of duty program, and it's possible recommendations. In that box, the language reads, have a central safety office within the Human Resources Department. To resolve this conflict, I would simply say, take it out.
Okay, so your recommendation is to remove, have a central safety office within the Human Resources Department, which is located in box D6, correct?
Correct. Even though I firmly endorse the concept.
Is there a second to this motion or discussion or comments? Mr. Smallwood?
I second that.
Okay.
I second that motion. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. Mr. Chapman? And Mr. Rucker? Let's take a vote. Mr. Chapman?
Aye.
Mr. Rucker?
Aye.
Mr. Brossel?
Aye.
Ms. Stagg?
I abstain, and for the record, I support the concept proposed by Ms. Hull that a central safety office within HR be established.
Thank you, and noted. Mr. Smallwood, is your hand raised previously, or do you have a comment or a question? If you do,
No, I'm sorry. I just didn't.
Okay, that's okay. I didn't want to miss you. Thank you.
Christina, is my hand up or down?
It is not raised at this moment.
Good.
There are no hands raised at this moment, just for clarity. Mr. Rucker, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Christina. So are there any other questions or comments in relations to the study and formulating recap document that's dated 2/1/2021 before we move on to the next item on our agenda?
I have none. This is Kim Stagg.
Thank you.
This is Dick Chapman. I have none.
I have none either.
Thank you. Ms. Hickey, we're ready to move forward to the next item.
Thank you, Chair Rucker. Item number 2 is additional information from committee members, which is the information that we have just seen and the information from Mr. Chapman. Mr. Chapman, would you like me to pull up your document?
Let me make a suggestion on, I've got 2 documents that I submitted to the committee, and they were basically for a summary of what we reviewed. The first one dealt with the pension plan. I wrote that up using the information that had been provided to us by the actuaries and some of the material that the staff provided to us initially. I had the actuary review that to make sure that it was accurate, and we provided that, I think, at the last committee meeting. I wrote up another piece using the material that Steve Kane presented to us that he was kind enough to share with me, and it's simply background information. I'm not looking for anybody to adopt it, make it part of the formal presentation or anything like that. It is simply material for the committee's review. So if the committee chose to make that part of the record, that's fine. It's simply a submission on my part.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman, for submitting those documents and the work you've put into that. I want to open the floor up to the committee members to see, to get their thoughts on submitting this as part of the record, and also talk. I don't know if labor or if your documents have been made public yet, but I want to also I guess, can we get clarity on that first? Have the documents been made public yet, or is this part of that batch that will be made public after today's session?
One of the documents that Mr. Chapman stated, the one that was provided at the last meeting, has been made public on the Study and Formulating Committee webpage. The other document that he is referring to will be made public after this meeting.
Okay. So
if Robbie can go ahead and put those on now, that would be great.
So I will get the thoughts of the other committee members. And Member Bradsoe, I want to get your thoughts on the documents and any questions or concerns you may have about moving forward with them as part of the recommendations of the committee.
I would just say I've reviewed them, and I appreciate Mr. Chapman putting those together for us. In terms of submitting them as part of the record, I don't particularly have a strong opinion one way or another. I would probably lean towards allowing the union groups to have the opportunity to review that. So that's where I stand.
Great, thank you. Ms. Staggs?
I second Mr. Brazel's statements.
Gotcha.
And have the same opinion.
And I'm of that same opinion as well. I think if we're going to, attach, the documents to our recommendation, we absolutely need to have more insight. And I see that Mr. Rayson has his hand raised, so I will give him an opportunity to talk there.
Brad Rayson, SEIU Local 205. Mr. Chapman, I thought you did a great. I've only looked at the pension report that you put together, and I thought you did a great job of concisely kind of summarizing the pension plan's current status. I do recall last meeting that Mr. Young pointed out that the benefit board was actually just going through an evaluation, I guess, or getting the report from the actuaries regarding the current state of the pension plan. And I wasn't sure whether you had had a chance to look at that latest report. And I don't think, at least as of last week, your analysis had included any of those up-to-date kind of numbers from the actuaries.
the answer to your question about is it up to date? The benefit board, I think, has had a work session and one regular session where they've reviewed those documents. The staff provided the copies of that material to the members of this committee, and I didn't update that material because I had only brought it up through, I think, July of 2019, if I remember the financial numbers correctly. And I didn't want to get involved in a constant rewrite, because really what we were looking at more was the process used by the benefit board to review the financing of the benefit of the pension plan, and whether that process was appropriate. So it wasn't. The numbers were presented to represent where the pension fund was, but not to be constantly updated. It was more a process review, which is very much like what the document dealing with the IOD program reviews as well. More process than numbers. Okay?
Yeah, thanks for that clarification.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions in regards to the documents that were presented?
By the way, this is Dick Chapman again. I just want to clarify, if we don't submit those documents as part of our work, that's fine. But I would want to go out and change the title page on the material that's posted, so it's clear that this is simply a submittal prepared by one member of the committee, as opposed to something that the committee formally adopted. I don't want to get in the business of having something that's a submittal become confused as being part of the formal record. And that could easily happen if something's just sitting out on a website because of the way the title page looks. Okay, and I'll make sure that correction, if we gets done, and it won't bother me either way, because I had fun. Well, fun, I don't type real well, but I found it interesting to put that information together. It fulfilled my self-expectation of the study side of our formulating committee.
No, thank you. Thank you. You know, we greatly appreciate the work that has gone into that. And it definitely has provided us some great insight into the issue. My recommendation is that at this time, and this is solely because we are, really dealing with the reaching kind of expiration of our committee, would be to hold this back now, because I absolutely do think that if there was something that we were going to attach, whether it's by one member or by the committee as a whole, I think that we should provide, the labor with the opportunity to, really see all the documents or so. And I think that they can still find value in reading them and jumping into the work that you've done. But I think at this moment, my recommendation would be for us to move forward without them being attached, but they will be accessible as they will be, public knowledge after our meeting here. So, committee members, what are your thoughts about moving forward without, basically having them attached as a recommendation of one member, committee member? Mr. Brassel, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I agree with your recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Chapman, what are your thoughts on that one?
I agree, and I wouldn't want them to travel as part of the committee work and simply be explained, this is the work of one committee member. We're all in this together. So, leaving it out on the website, making the appropriate correction or modification to the title page so it's clear as to what it was and where it came from are fine with me.
Ms. Stagg, your thoughts?
I agree with your recommendation, Mr. Rucker.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, absent any other questions, I believe we are set to move forward with the study and formulation recap and the information and recommendations that we have in the documents. Are there any other questions, comments relating to what we have already walked through in this document? Well, thank you all. Ms. Hickey, I believe we're ready to take the next steps on the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Our next meeting will be to review a draft of the final report. This will be on February 10th at 2 p.m. Mr. Chapman, if you could just provide me a revised document that you have just with your information on the top that it was presented by you, we can update that on our website.
Christina, one question. You're going to take the old document out and put the new document?
Yeah, we will leave it right now up so any union members can review it. It is up currently at this moment. But as soon as we get your updated one that just has that amended title page, we can take it down and replace it. So if you could just provide us with that, that would be wonderful.
You'll see it this afternoon.
Wonderful. And Chair Rucker, if there's no other questions or comments, there is no other business of this committee today. We would meet again on February 10th, which is next Wednesday at 2 p.m. And we will provide a copy of the final draft of the report prior.
Great, thank you. And thank you everyone for just your thoughtfulness and all your questions and comments today. Thanks again. And Ms. Hickey, I would say that this meeting is adjourned. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.